This is the Compass Engineering Turret Smart Slice.
It's got full PLC and servo thickness control with a panel heater, panel extractor fan, and indicator lights.
Okay, first thing that we can do, the buttons that are usable will be illuminated. As we can see here, our only function at the moment is the blade start. When we hit the e-stop, the machine goes into a safe mode, stopping all outputs from the drives by base blocking them. We got no power out in the field now. Once we release the e-stop, we can reset the machine. Machine will pull in the contactors
And start the drives again.
Okay, once there's been an emergency or one of the doors have opened, as we can see if we open the doors, we'll have to reset again
As the drives are switching off.
This is all controlled via magnetic coded switches on all the doors. We'll have to re-engage, clear, and reset to pull in the contactors. As you can see,
The drives are started up now.
once we've done that, we have to now re-home the machine as there's an error. So we'll click on home error, we will reset the machine, then we'll have to re-home. This re-homes the table to 0. Once that is ready, the ready light will come on and the blade will come on as well, as that's a function that's available. Okay, so we've homed the machine. We got two modes that we can control the machine with, namely manual and auto. Just to go through the menu functions quickly. At the moment, I'm logged on as the engineer. However, there will be two other users, namely operator and manager. Operator will have very limited access to the HMI functions, and you can basically just run the machine. The manager, however, will be able to go into the different recipe functions and edit parameters. The manager will also be able to go look at more advanced things like machine setup, and machine reset window will also be available. In engineer mode, you have full access to the machine, where you can go look at all the errors and current position of our servo motor. You can control the blade and turret manually. And also, you can set the position of the turret and select multiple turrets. Because each turret can be orientated differently, we can select the absolute position of where the turret will stop in either the 3 head or the 6 head. When we go back, we can also access our recipe functions, and we can go into the normal machine setup. But all these settings are also available in our individual recipes. But first, we have to go back to the home page and decide whether we're cutting in manual or auto. We're going to be cutting in auto, so let's go load a recipe for our automatic cut. We'll go in here. We can choose between our manual mode recipes, so we can choose from this drop down list 1 to 15. That's going to be our manual mode settings, or we'll go into our automatic mode recipes. As you can see, there's a lot more parameters that we have to set, but we do this in order to get a more accurate cut. So we'll have our standard parameters such as blade speed, turret speed, and conveyor speed. And then obviously we get into our more detailed parameters for the smart slice function. At this point, we're just going to be changing the turret speed to 31 RPM, which is the max. Once we do that, we can save this recipe. So the next time we come back to the recipe, it will show 31 RPM. We can see that we're going to be cutting in 4 quadrants. So basically, a quadrant height tells us which the 2 tolerances, our min and our max, are going to operate within the first 20 mils of meat, and so on and so forth with the second, third, and fourth quadrant. So as you can see, we've just quickly set up our first quadrant. It's going to cut for the first 20 mils of the meat. We're looking at 5 to 4 mil cut. Our second and third quadrant tolerances are a bit thicker, so 7 and 6 mil cuts, and in our fourth quadrant, we bring it back down to 5 and 4 mil cuts. Now, all of these you can set to any value. So we've got, for our quadrant heights, we can set up to 1 meter on our quadrant heights, and obviously our thicknesses are going to be the machine capability, which is to cut from 1.5 mils to 40 mils per cut. So we're just going to leave this here. We're going to make sure that this is saved, and we're going to send it to the machine. So the machine knows that we're going to be using this recipe for our next cut. We can go home. Now, in order to operate, we have to ensure that we switch over to our auto mode. So now, as soon as we switch over, as you can see, it's within tolerance. So the machine believes that we're going to need about a 4.05 mil cut while we're cutting. So obviously the next thing, we can't start the machine yet because we have a sequence to follow. So basically just following the illuminated switches, we know that we need to start our blade. Now, once the blade is running, you can open the door, but as soon as we open the door, we lose the function to automatically start our machine because that's unsafe. The only thing we can do now is either stop the whole machine or index our magazine to load our 3 heads. So once we're done loading, we can close this. Our functions illuminate again. The machine believes it's safe to start cutting. So we're going to start cutting. As it starts, we can't index anymore. We can just stop the machine. We can watch it processing the cut. Once it's done processing the cut, it will automatically toggle to the next loading station. So every time the operator opens the door after a cut, the loading station is